Hello everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this newest episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
Hello everyone.
And joining us as our special guest this week is returning very popular guest, fellow lore tuber, Baldermort.
Oh, hello. Hello everyone, how are you? I hope you're good.
I'm dying from the heat, it's way too hot, and according to the Met Office next week it's going to be hitting 40 centigrade.
Oh, God.
And yes, we know, American viewers, we can't handle the heat because our buildings are not designed to handle that intense heat.
And let's not forget, we don't have aircon in this country.
No, we don't. No, we have none. It's horrific. I'm afraid we're going to have to go with the cripple cast as well because my back's killing me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome to the second episode of the Cripplecast, ladies and gentlemen.
To be fair, I'm quite lucky because the only way in which my back is killing me is carrying all these noobs at Warhammer Club. They won't thank me for that one when they watch this back, because I know some of them do.
Fair.
Tack throwing some shade. God, we need the shade in this scene, let's be honest.
Yeah,
hey.
don't we just, this is true. So how have you both been?
Yeah, can't complain.
I'm dying from the heat, I'm dying from the pain, I'm dying from everything. I think I am just probably dying at this point. I don't know yet, who knows? I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway.
Yeah. No, it's the end of the school year for most of us. Not next week, the week. Well, for most of us next week. For me, it's the week after. So just winding down and winding everything up, and just getting ready for a nice summer of sleep, hobby, sleep, holiday, sleep, hobby, and more sleep.
You mean you actually get sleep?
Good? Oh yeah, you've got to make up for all of those hours you missed during the term. Bloody hell. Hard work, that.
Absolutely.
Lucky for some.
I know. But they, for much as we can sit here making terrible puns and whinging, there is a lot of things that we can talk about in the world of Warhammer. Most notably, there was actually an online preview this week, which I don't think many of us were expecting. Well, we knew it was coming, but just a random summer preview, which I think a few people were caught off guard by, but lots of cool stuff revealed.
I missed it. Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll catch you up. So, on the AOS side, Warcry is receiving its newest edition, including a full boxed game with 2 new armies, the Horns of Hashut, which is exactly who you think it is. And
well, sorry, it's not Chaos Dwarves.
But it's not, they're devoted to the god of the Chaos Dwarves, but it's not actually Chaos Dwarves.
So it's not who we think it is.
No, Hashut, though, is exactly who you think it is.
Who are they then?
So the Horns of Hashut are cultists of the Chaos god Hashut, in that sort of like the Blades of Khorne are cultists of Khorne, like the Blood Reavers and Carrick Acolytes and the like. They sort of fill that role, because Warcry has always been about cultists, different types of cultists, and so the Horns of Hashut fill that role. And they are up against the Rotmire Creed, who aren't explicitly stated to be a Nurgle warband, but basically are another Nurgle warband.
Fair.
So some of them look really cool. There's one who has a skeleton for a head. We've got some really cool masks. They've got blowpipe weapons, fisherman's hooks, stilts for legs because they're walking around in a swamp called the Gnarlwood.
Nice.
A nice mix of models. They're not all really for me, but it's also the first, well, not the first flamethrower, but it's got a flamethrower, so that's something. Lots of cool stuff in here for Warcry and eventually for Slaves to Darkness.
Yes, I've got it coming up now. Thank you very much for pointing out this Gnarlwood terrain. Crumbs, it's gorgeous. Oh.
Yes.
So I'm just going to salivate over here. Say something cool, Tack.
Nah, it's fine. Yeah, so the Gnarlwood is the new setting that they're going to, a region of Gur where everything is alive and will eat you. So, it might look cool, and I'm sure Nurgle players and Skaven players are salivating, just like Baldermort over there is. but it will eat you in the game. So plenty to look forward to there.
Oh, no, I'm very glad you told me about that. Look at this warband with the hammers and the picks, and their headgear is magnificent. I love them. Thank you.
Mind you, I think if that was your reaction to Warcry, wait until you see what they did to Necromunda.
I know. Didn't they have some squads or something? Let's have a look. Where's
the new Goliath vehicle.
Oh no, I've missed all of this. This is
yes,
really
I've
embarrassing.
just shared it with you.
Right. Where are we on? On the... no, I did say that. I did see that, yes. Yes, I thought that was magnificent. The only thing I'd say is make it float and, go for it. Let's make that orc go.
Yes, this is the Goliath Mauler. It's a really cool piece of kit. Part road rage bike, part grinder, part tracked. So it's actually got the tracked and wheeled rules, so it can actually use both in terms of terrain, which is kind of clever. And it does come with a power ram, because of course it does.
Of course. No, I mean, I've got to admit, this is just absolutely spectacular. It's so 2000 AD is all I can say. It makes my inner nerd scream with joy. Oh, God, I wish I played Necromunda now, but I don't generally skirmish. One of those things. I'll actually have to look at that.
Indeed. Working alongwards, if I know you're not set up on your AOS, but you may want to check out the new Hexbane's Hunters Witch Hunter warband, which I'm sure Inquisition players would also be very interested in getting their hands on. And anyone who's doing role-playing games and looking for character models, I think would have a lot of fun with these miniatures, with their revolver pistols, stakes, hunting dogs, torches, great axes, crossbows with... Right, I think that's a grenade crossbow and the like.
I mean, this is worth getting on just for the fact you get two good boys with it, so...
And there was a bit of an argument going on, I believe, in Twitch chat about who the goodest boy was. But we'll get to that.
What's the one with the scars, obviously?
Probably, but there's another one to share. And while we're here... we're not showing good boys, but we are looking at very powerful women in this case, as the Amazons arrived in Blood Bowl.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
re-returned. So I'm just trying to found the article for that. Where is
The link? We're linking everything to you as you go. If you look in.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking on the internet. I'm an idiot.
No, you're all right. It's fine. We're linking as we go. But yes,
see,
the
Blood Bowl is something I so wanted to get back into, and I've been saying for about 3 years I really want to get back into it. Then the channel's made it nearly impossible, because I used to love playing Dark Elves. Oh, these Amazons are whoop-ass. This is amazing.
They've actually also been given a star player this week.
Oh, finally, go on.
A star player called Boa Constrictor. And yes, I did put the extra S in there. It comes with 3 S's. You have to say it correctly.
Yep. I did actually see that, because me and Grudges were talking about it. I just forgot. I'm so sorry. Yeah, that is fine. Just so lovely. I'd probably tear it to pieces and make a slith out of it, but yeah, it's an amazing model. They've really been knocking it out of the park recently. Sorry, Rem, your turn.
I was going to say, I saw a few people on Twitter saying, like, oh, is this like a Kurish making a return? You know, Kurish being a race of snake people from Cathay in Warhammer Fantasy. Yeah. But I don't actually think it is, considering that the Kurish had 4 arms and this guy's from Lustria, so...
No, it's just a snake person, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you got lizardmen in Lustria, why not snake men as well? Yeah,
you would have thought there'd be some kind of derivatives there. I don't know the actual history of that. It's been 35 years or something. Cool. And those are magnificent figures. And of course, it's only a star player, so you can only get the one, so you can't completely snack out. But it would almost be nice if you could get an entire army together of those. Yeah, sorry, a team together of those.
Yeah. Would be fun. However, if you're looking for something a little more grimdark, may I direct you to the brand new Kill Team? Because they've done a new expansion for Kill Team, Into the Dark, which is taking place aboard a new Space Hulk. And they've revealed the first elements of the new Kill Teams. They've not revealed the teams in full, the full unit, but they've given us about 7 models from the Imperial Navy Breachers team.
Yep.
And a Kroot kin band. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, please. Give it to me now.
You are not wrong. Kroot should always have had their own little mini codex, or codices, whichever you want to say. I mean, they should be able to, yes, of course, back up the tower, but they are mercenaries. They should be able to fight for anyone eventually. Well, nearly anyone. Oh, they're just fantastic models as well. You must be over the moon, brother. Are we going to get more Kroot eventually, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think, to be honest, what we've got is we've been given a Shaper, 2 variants of a standard carnivore, one with a unique sort of bowcaster. I know that's the wrong word and I'm mixing up my genres, but it kind of reminds me of a bowcaster.
Rifle.
Oh, no, you're not wrong, though. It does. Absolutely.
A longbow rifle.
Is that a technical term?
No, it's just the way it looks.
It's part longbow, part rifle. Therefore, longbow rifle.
I didn't know if there was a technical term for it. And a Kroot Hound as well. Yes. The Kroot Hound's kit is ancient and needs a redo. So I'm hoping this does eventually lead, it probably won't be till 10th edition, but I'm hoping it does eventually lead to a full revamp of the Kroot range. Maybe even, I'm not suggesting we get Dogs of War. I would not complain about Dogs of War.
Should do.
But I would not say no to expanding the Kroot like this, and I really like the models they've actually produced. But as much as I'm going to sound controversial, I think the Breachers actually take it for me in terms of the better miniature. I don't know why, but there's something about the Breacher team that really sits well with me, like with the shields, the shotguns, the void armor. Something about them just really appeals to me. I really like the Navy team.
No, I can't blame you. And again, Navy is another faction which could be, I'm hoping, these are just the first models for an entire faction of them. Again, nobody wants millions and millions of factions, they say, for competitive play, etc. But for narrative play, you want as many as possible so people can play whatever the heck they want. And the Navy is strong. It should be represented. And these are glorious models.
The challenge...
oh, look at that. Sorry, it's just the bolts coming out of his little gun and everything else. Oh, cool. Sorry, go on.
No, the challenge of doing that, I agree with you to an extent. The challenge is the Navy doesn't really deploy on the ground. Like, I agree, absolutely. The Navy has a very powerful foot-based militia with the Breachers and the Helmsmen and the Armsmen and all that. But they don't really join the Astra Militarum in ground campaigns. They don't fight on their own terms. The challenge with making a Navy codex would be then, well, why are they coming off their ships?
You don't have to come off the ships because Space Marines, Necrons, Tyranids, everybody else invade ships. I've got to say, we did a campaign about 5 years ago, I wrote. Half of it was actually on ships. And yeah, we just absolutely loved it. It was almost simpler because there wasn't that much terrain. It became incredibly brutal. So it was almost like a huge Games of Space Hulk. And I think having that, just an element maybe, or a couple of units of them, really would help in that kind of situation. Again, I'm a narrative player, so I'm going to always talk about that.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think a couple of squads of Navy-style units in the Guard Codex, which we know is coming with the Ursula Creed, the Sentinel, the Castikin and all that. We know we're getting a new Astra Militarum Codex. I'd slot them in there. I wouldn't give them their own codex. I don't think there's enough for them.
Also, you've got the admirals, the fleet commander or one of the, Astra Militarum or Imperial Guard units has always been an advisor. So you could have the advisor with a small amount of Navy there.
Oh, yeah, the officer of the fleet, isn't it?
So they could expand that. You're absolutely a genius, Tack. Yeah, I hope they put it in the the Militarum Codex. But again, I hope that there's enough time after the Codex for us to have a couple of months at least playing more ninths and having all the codices out before they bring 10ths. But, oh dear, that's a hot potato. I'll shut up.
That's getting a little bit into the rumour mill, which is more than fair. I know there have been rumours of 10th edition, and we know with the way the cycles work that 10th edition is due next year if everything adds up the way it's normally added up. It will be next year. But
the problem with the rumour mill going round is that, according to this rumour mill going round, the next codex to be released will be Leagues of Otan. Yet, this isn't actually going to be the case, because we actually got a preview of the next codex, which is Chaos Demons.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
Yep.
Well, they had to have one, especially with all the whoppers that have come out recently. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm probably not going to buy any more Demons, but I'm absolutely looking forward to the Codex and just pouring through the shiny pictures and saying I could get them,
Yeah, for me, I've got a Head of Knights of Slanesh army for AOS, and that does contain a chunk of Demons.
Yeah.
Like, I've got 20 Demonettes, 3 Fiends, 5 Seekers, Contorted Epitome, Hellflayer Herald, I don't think the twins, what are they called? I used to know their names off the top of my head. The two, Sinessa and Dexessa, that's it. Because they're a very Sigmar creation. I don't think they're actually going to get ported across, but I'm willing to be corrected on that. So I think I might have a tinker with the Demons Codex, but I don't think I'm going to invest and get a demon army.
No, fair enough. But again, if you've got all of the most of it anyway, just a little bit of a codex, and then after that you can play that as well, just on the odd chance you don't want to play Tau. But again, it's just always nice to be able to play armies if you've got the models, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And can we just appreciate that the Crusade section is going to be all about the Great Game?
Oh, is it? Oh,
so it says here, to quote the article, though mortals may cower and worlds may burn, the dark gods that command these incomprehensible hordes regard the war for existence as little more than an endless game, which you can play yourself thanks to a comprehensive Crusade section.
Ooh, now that sounds cool. Demon on Demon action. I'm up for that. I'll get out the popcorn. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, plus Bellacor's in there. The new Bellacore miniature they did is actually going into here as well, which is really nice.
Good.
Well, yeah, he is a Chaos Demon.
Yeah.
He is, of course. I know that, but it's good that he's going in there. He's getting an army of renown as well, so they're not just shoving him in there, they're giving him a little bit of space.
Well, it'd be a bit weird if they shoved him in the squat codex, let's be honest.
yes, thank you, Captain Obvious. But like, there was a time where I was like, okay, well, like he had to put the demons in the Chaos. I still remember the days where there wasn't a Chaos Demons Codex. And even baby little Tactica remembers that. So...
No, I think that must have been while I was off from the game. I think it was about 12 years I took off.
I've been in the hobby for... Yeah, I came in at the start of 5th. And at the time, in the 4th edition Chaos Marine Codex, was you summoned demons to aid you, different ones, different flavours. You summoned greater and lesser demons. As far as I recall, and I'm willing to be corrected here, I think the first Chaos Demons Codex was in 5th.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I missed 3rd and 4th, that was all. But, 5th was a real wake-up when I came back. I was like, oh, it was good. But, of course, I've been playing since. It's been lovely.
Yes, though, when it came to all things demonic, it wasn't actually the Chaos Demons Codex that made all the headlines. It was another rather big, chunky, demony boy. Thanks to the power of Potato Cam, again, Angron.
Of course. Now, yeah. I mean, that is a glorious miniature. Whether you like it or not for Angron, I mean, I do, but many have stated their reasons why, and I'm not going to argue with them. It's up to them. But I think that is just the kind of model that makes me want to, for the first time ever, play World Eaters. And I've never, ever been interested in them before, but now... God, wouldn't it be lovely? But I think I'm probably going to have to remove a kidney to get one of those. Well, we saw the price on a Cabanda. Again, not throwing any shade, but it's 240 smackers.
What?
Yeah.
But Cabanda's resin, though. This is going to be plastic if it's going to be for mainline 40k.
I know, but it's better. You're saying it's going to be better and cheaper. Come on, they've got to sort this out a little. But I mean, anyway, back to the positive. That Angron is, in my mind, absolutely gorgeous. I will buy one eventually and give it to someone who can paint, probably Mrs. B, and ask her to do it for me because I'm a potato. But that's lovely.
I've seen some people saying they're going to take this more purely so they can convert it into Angrath.
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, yeah. Okay, stupid question. Angron is obviously known in the pre-Heresy and the Heresy of having two chain axes, Gorefather and Gorechild. Now, we know where Gorechild ended up. It's in the hands of Khan. Gorefather is a relic, and I know that because in the World Eaters Index in this month's White Dwarf, Gorefather is there as a takeable relic.
Yep.
Now, Angron obviously ditched them for the Black Blade, which is clearly in his left hand. Mm-hmm. So what is the chain axe in his right hand? Is that him recovering Gorefather, which makes no sense because, it's a relic that the whole army can take? Or is it another chain axe? And if so, what is it?
Zach, I think you're overthinking this in regards to the relics, considering that, according to the Blood Angels Codex, they can, a Flesh Tearer's army can take the Terminator armor of Nasir Amit, even though it was lost and only his helmet was ever recovered.
Yeah, but by the same token, there's a literal possibility that if that is Gorefather...
The Space Wolves can take the armour of Lehman Russ, even though he was wearing it when he left him to go into the war.
I know, but I'm mourning the fact that we can have two Gorefathers on the same battlefield.
No,
if
I'm
that's
hoping.
Godfather.
Yeah, I'm hoping it'll be a new one given to him or forged himself in lakes and lakes of blood with millions of heads, and there's a little bit of a story around it. That's what I want.
Yeah, I'd have
Either that, or it's not. Instead of it being Godfather, it's Godmother.
dear, oh dear.
Oh. Yeah.
But
Sorry,
it is-
Godfather, Godmother, Godchild. There you go. It's the God family.
But it is a
And
really,
he's just got another one called Al.
but it is a really good model. And what I really appreciate is, as much as I love 30k Magnus, I don't see a lot of 30k Magnus in 40k Magnus. Like, I appreciate, horns, yes, red, but that's kind of, obviously there's minor bits here and there, but that's kind of where the similarities end. If you look, or at least it does to my untrained idiot Tactica brain, but if I look at this model, I can see Angron's 30k armor in there.
Yeah.
Like, the way it's shaped over his back with the symbol on top of the arch. Yes, it's bigger and more monstrous and powered up with skulls now, but I see it. The same with the shoulder pads. They look like the beaten brass plate, just mutated and malformed. Same with the legs. They look like the brass armor he used to wear, which...
And the face is absolutely pure Blanche. Whether you love him or hate him, that is the iconic Angron from a lot of the, say, Horus Visions of Heresy. So
with the butcher's nails as well.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely spectacular. Sorry, someone else.
That's like, Tat, you complain about 40k Magnus not looking much like 30k Magnus, but would you prefer him looking like Epic Magnus?
No, let's not do that.
I'm not saying you should.
Big blue winged monkey?
It's not a complaint that I would have made had I not seen Angron. I'm not even really complaining. It's just interesting that they've really stuck true to old Angron while still making him a demon murder beast monster. They didn't do that with Magnus in the same way, which is not a complaint. It's just interesting.
No, I see your point. I've never looked at it that way, but you do have a bit of a point, actually. Weird. So again, I suppose Angron didn't change that much... in many ways when he transformed over, whereas Magnus definitely did. Well, again, only from my stupid perspective.
And then you got Mortarion, who literally just got bigger and grew wings, and that was it. He's like, just called it a day. It's like, I'm good enough.
Well, and then you got, what is it, Lorgar, who got an extra foot or something?
Lorgar turned into a giant killer chaos monkey with a crown of thorns and big gorilla arms.
Sorry, not to let this conversation get away, but just, since we mentioned Mortarion, there's a new Garrow novel with Mortarion on it.
If I ever get any time, I'm reading that one or hearing it. They haven't released it yet on Audible, but I'm definitely looking forward to reading that in the bath. It's going to be good.
So, Garrow, Knight of Grey. Okay, right. This is not a nitpick, this is just interesting, because I remember having a conversation a long time ago. It was a running thing for me of who were the founding 8 members of the Grey Knights.
And Garrow wasn't one of them.
Exactly. There was Epimetheus, Felzerost. There was a few librarians in there that I can't remember all their names.
Tylus Rubio was one of them.
And so on and so on. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head right now. But Garrow was absolutely, not one of the 8 Grey Knights. Yes, he was a knight errant, absolutely, we know that. He was the agent primus of the Sigillite, all that. But he was not a Grey Knight. So, Knight of Grey, and then he's got a very Nemesis-type looking sword, and you're just like, oh, hang on a minute, what? Wait, no, wait.
That's just Libertas.
Do you think they've buggered up their own lore again, or do they think
That's bugging it up. I don't think they're bugging it up, it's just interesting.
Well, that sword's just Libertas, that's just his regular power sword.
Let me have a look at this picture a bit closer.
Libertas Rex.
Yeah, it's a sword, Libertas, yeah. The sword that could very well be King Arthur's sword, Excalibur.
Don't.
But yes.
Just don't do that.
I
know in law it is. I get pissy about Excalibur. Sorry, I really do. It would take too long to explain.
Is it because that one anime we got that Excalibur going, Excalibur?
No. Have you seen Fate Stay Nights and all of those? They've got King Arthur there as a bird. It's quite funny. A bit of manga.
I think that was the one from Soul Eater who was had the monocle and the top hat.
Right. But no, definitely the Fate Stay Night and Fate Stay, was it Blade Works? I think it was, King Arthur was a lovely blonde lady. It was very funny. He kicked ass, of course. Still had Excalibur and stuff. It was lovely. Anyway, that's a bit off track. I'm going to shut up now. Carry on. Tactica, save us. Bring Logic back.
So, yes, we also got the back cover blurb for Knight of Grey. We don't know when it's coming out. They haven't even announced the pre-order date yet. But it's a Siege of Terra novella, obviously. And it's he's trying to protect Euphrati Keeler. So Keeler's still kicking around, even at this late stage. And we know, I think she does survive the war and is martyred later, correct?
I thought so, but I don't know.
So say again, you cut out, sorry.
Euphrati Keeler survives the heresy and is martyred later, yes?
If I recall correctly, yeah.
So we know that, as far as we recall, anyway.
Who's taking the trouble out to kill her in the middle of the Siege of Terror, though?
It's more, I think, that she's going to get caught in the crossbar because she's just a regular human being. And
that would make a lot more sense, sorry. Yeah.
I'm interested to see how this pans out, considering that at the current position we are in the Siege of Terror novels, Euphrati Keeler is basically being followed by Loken.
Yeah, he's going to hand over to Garrow. Why not?
But then again, Mortaran was banished at the end of Warhawk, so this something's got to take place before then.
Well, yeah, one would hope.
And then she came back 10 minutes later and said, sorry, Jagatai, your sacrifice was meaningless.
No, I'm sure they won't do that. I'm sure they'll be much more
clear about it. It's the White Scars, don't bet on anything.
Well, they do get stuffed over quite a bit. I wish there were more White Scars books, and just everything, really. But there you go. See, I hoped when in 9th or 10th that they would bring out just the first of the actual old aerial jet bikes and give them to White Scars. Give them something, you know what I mean? Something cool. Because, you do a White Scars video, nobody watches it, and then you've got those 10 or 12 people saying, I really love White Scars, we don't get any help. And I'm like, I know, I really know how you feel, mate. Sorry, anyway, you'll go. I
was going to say, it's probably a minor nitpick on mine, but I kind of wish it was titled Knight in Grey.
Fair enough. Now we're getting down to it, yeah.
I just think that sounds like a bit more, as a better title, like Garrow, Knight in Grey, rather than Knight of Grey. It's like, what is a Grey?
Yeah. Well,
is Grey the country, the principality?
Yeah.
Like Knight of the Realm, Knight of the Grey. Or Knight of the Grey. That'd pretty be better.
Well, I don't know. That's getting a bit Babylon 5, though, isn't it, really?
This is 40k borders.
Exactly, I know. But if you've got the Grey Knights and the Knights of the Grey and the Grey Council, it's Babylon 5, isn't it? So let's keep it Knight of Grey. Yeah.
Well, this is a perfect time to remind everyone that the Sires of the Emperor and the Emperor's Sires both exist as separate chapters.
Yep.
The Sires of the Emperor are the yellow and black ones, and the Emperor's Sires are purple.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, there's only 1,000 of them. They really should check this shit out.
I mean, what's next? The Angels of Blood chapter?
Oh, don't. There probably are about 3 of them out there.
Angels of Darkness, Wolves in Space. Hands of Iron chapter, there you go.
Yeah, dear.
If there's Hands of Iron, sounds better than Iron Hands.
It depends what you're doing with them. No, Tactica, save us again.
That's fine. Yeah, so that's that. In terms of just staying with the heresy and shifting back to models, we've had the new Daemons pattern Predator revealed as well as the melee variant of the Leviathan Dreadnought, which will actually be coming out before the ranged variant. What they're doing is, rather than releasing the Leviathan Dreadnought kit, what they're doing is they're going to release the Leviathan melee Dreadnought, and then when they release the ranged Dreadnought, they'll release a guns upgrade sprue and a melee upgrade sprue to allow those who own either Dreadnought to mix and match. I'm assuming it's because they've gone for 2 different sets of legs, one moving forwards in the melee variant and one standing still in the range variant, though I'd have to get a bit more in depth as to what the exact explanations are, because you will have access to every gun and option.
And a Leviathan is not just for Christmas. I've got one for my Blood Angels. It's gorgeous. I love nothing better than taking him out and breaking people. But I don't have a close combat version, and I'm so happy it's coming out in plastic. I will be getting every version as soon as I can. I'm going to be whoring myself with every advert I can to afford this stuff, because I'm just so happy. Anyway, I'm going to put myself on mute while I slather, and you guys talk for a second, because this is going to go on for ages. Bear with me.
Incoming Baldermort Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship, then.
And speaking of breaking
Shadow
people,
Legends.
and speaking of breaking people, Kabanda's got rules now for Horus Heresy 2.0.
I know, and they look badass.
Sanguinius.
Yeah, his initiative's higher, isn't it? I was looking at some of the stats today in between editing, and it just looks gorgeous. But it's 240 quid. I'm back to that again. Right, it's too much.
So just to put it in context, so Kabanda himself is
550 points.
Yeah, he's about
Oh wait, movement values. I didn't realise. I forgot Heresy had movement values, but it does. It does now. Weapon skill 8, strength 8, toughness 8, wounds 8. Yeah. Gotta get all the 8s in there. It is corn. Initiative 6, 7 attacks, 3 up save, a 3 up adamantium will, 4 up ethereal invulnerability, hammer of wrath, hatred of exactly Sanguinius.
No, it gets victory points as well if it kills him.
It will not die, traitor, and then a couple of unique rules as well. Weapons wise, the armament, so he's got strength user +4, so strength 12, AP 2 with Sunder, and it can also be used as a ranged weapon with strength 6, AP 2, assault 7. You can also have wings, so it can become move 14 if it wants to. It does get a secondary objective for Sanguinius, as you mentioned.
All
models with Rage or Rampage actually get better Rage or Rampage, including his own. And at the end of the assault phase, after the results of combat have been worked out, speaking of answers are all done, he can actually attack again by placing a Hellstorm template and basically just firing off a Flamer attack after combat resolution.
Oh, he's a beast. There's no other word for it. He's just a beast.
Indeed, it's a very, very powerful model, and it's fitting. And to read the text actually that they've put to accompany his, his little spiel down the side. Of all the dark legends spawned by the nightmarish incursions that would hit the Imperium during the Age of Darkness, that of Kabanda would cast a vast shadow across history. This bat-winged terror in impenetrable bronze plate and capable of cleaving a dozen men with each swing would bring about the end of dozens of worlds. None would survive as... sorry.
Hang about. Right, so when they did the preview of Echoes of Eternity, and they basically pretty much all but stated that it's going to be Sanguinius versus Angron. Well, according to this, it's going to be Kabanda and Sanguinius again. So is Sanguinius going to be taking on Kabanda and Angron in the same story?
What? That doesn't make a great deal of sense.
It says, as we know from Black Library's awesome Siege of Heresy, Sanguinius survived his duel and went on to battle Kabanda once more. You can find out how the rematch unfolds when Echoes of Eternity arrives later this year.
So who are they going to get to fight and defeat Angron then?
Sang.
So it's not going to be Rogel again, is it?
No, it's going to be Sang, probably.
Well, he can't take on Kabanda and then Angron. That's silly.
Freaking watch him.
I know. I mean, I've got to try and control my enthusiasm here. I am a Blood Angels player, so I've got to try and throw some dust at him every now and again. He can't do both of them, surely.
When you're fighting on pure adrenaline. Sorry.
If anyone could, it would be Sanguinius.
Well, that's true. But then after that, he goes on for the hat-trick and tries to take Horus. I mean, he seems a bit greedy now.
Maybe that's why Horus battered him so bad, because I'm guessing he probably fought Angron when he was semi-fresh.
Yeah.
Probably fought Angron first, because Angron was known for rushing in. Then Kabanda was like, no, he's my kill. Maybe that's how they get Angron off Terra, is that Sanguinius doesn't actually beat Angron. It's more a case of Sanguinius and Angron are at it, and Kabanda, kind of like he did to the Tyranids on Sequence Prime, is like, no, Sanguinius' skull is mine. Angron, bugger off. Batters Angron for a minute, who's already obviously been through the entire siege and is probably on his last demonic legs. Yep. Doesn't necessarily have to banish him, but certainly just drive him off and just point his rage somewhere else. And then he's like, right, he's gone, now we're going to do this. And then they have their fight. It keeps Angron strong whilst not actually interfering with the rematch. Maybe.
But Angron to be backed off by Kabanda. I know Kabanda is Kabanda, he's badass, he's a huge, huge bloodthirster.
He's fresh. and Angron's not.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, but thing is, things like stamina don't really apply to demons.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking it's Angron, come on. But no, again, I'm not refuting your position. I think it's the best thing I've heard so far. Yeah, it works. It works, yeah.
It's just a way to stop Angron, because if Commander loses... if whoever goes and fights Sanguinius second would have to lose to Sanguinius, who's just fought the other one.
Yep.
Who will have no time to heal, no time to regenerate, because, it's the Siege of Terror.
Yep.
And whoever did lose that second round, if Commander lost the second round, then Cygnus just comes across as a massive fluke. Yeah. And if Angron loses after Sanguinius has broken the back of Commander, as the story always goes, then Angron just looked like a jobber.
Yeah,
a useless jobber who was supposed to have battered Guilliman but can't even lay a finger on a damaged Sang.
Yeah. No, I do. Again, it's interesting to find out or to project on what they're going to do with that one. Again, it could have just been a blunder by someone writing the wrong thing, but I hope it's not, and there is something exciting as you've outlined, because that would be cool. Come on, let's spin it. It would be cool.
Sorry, to use a wrestling analogy, basically what's happening, Tack, is that Angron is carrying Cross.
No.
He went from Shao Kahn to jobbing out in 30 seconds. That's Angron. Carry Angron Cross, there we go.
He would be very cross.
A bit.
But no one wants that Gimp mask.
Oh, no, don't talk about the Gimp.
But the Gimp's asleep. We'll wake him up then.
Well,
such a dark film.
Tell you what, then, let's.
Sorry.
That's a good film, though.
Oh, it's great. No arguing with that one. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, every good film and or bit of wrestling needs a bit of promo. So let's jump very sideways into the far future, back to Necromunda, because we've got two new hangers-on, which I'm sure Ren was very pleased about: the propagandist and the agitator.
Oh yeah, I like the propagandist. The fact it's got like a little banner that's made of little TV screens. That's just adorable.
Oh no, I did see that one. I can't find it now.
It's in the Discord chat.
Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry,
Twice, actually.
Sorry. I was looking online. No, exactly. Oh, did you see Valrak be changed over into that? That was funny. But yes, I mean, these are really good little models again. Perfect for a bit of flavour. Excellent for mixing it up, and a great opportunity for painting. I think, 10 out of 10. Can't argue with them.
Agreed.
It's not always the big models for me. Unfortunately, I'm kind of an infantry and little Burks kind of guy, and I love these little models and the individuals far more than I ever love a commander. Strange, but
I get it. No, I get it completely. For me, especially on the Sigmar side, I went through a real phase about 3-4 years ago, and I still have remnants of it now, where my favourite unit in most armies is the big, chunky, heavy cavalry unit.
Yeah.
Like Blood Knights, for example, are my favourite vampire unit. That was before they got redone.
They were good then. Even then, they're very much like Dragon Knights. The Dragon Knights from the High Elves range.
And I had the Dragon
if they released them today,
I love the Dragon Princes.
Still be good.
Yeah, the Dragon Princes, Call One Knights, Draco Cavalry, which I've got.
Yeah.
I just have, and always have had, a thing for chunky, heavy cavalry. My favourite models in, maybe not in all time, but certainly in all of Chaos, some of my favourite models are Juggernauts. I don't know why, I absolutely adore Juggernauts.
Yeah, I can see it.
I remember when Warriors of Chaos got their 7th edition fantasy army book. It was the 5th White Dwarf I'd ever bought. And they got a Chaos Lord of Khorne on Juggernaut.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go find the model because it was absolutely gorgeous.
It is gorgeous, full stop. I mean, the Blood Crushers as well, just absolutely fantastic.
And then they redid the Blood Crushers and there's Mighty Skull Crushers that they did after that.
God, they're good. Yeah, I mean, I had a strange thing with the Chaos Knights and with the Barbarians, and I just got into my Conan thing, and they were just incredible. Oh, but yes, thank you for the picture. God, that is good.
Yeah, and then there's the Varangard. If we're staying with Chaos Knights, the Varangard. They're amazing.
They are incredible. I'd never bought any myself. Again, they were a bit pricey, and then after I kind of stopped. Yeah, I know. And again, these days I do it, but I'm not playing a lot of fantasy. I'm waiting for Old World, if I'm honest. No, again, no attack on Age of Sigmar. There's only so much I can learn. I would love to get back into Age of Sigmar and actually get into it. And I hear the lore's really improved. Can you confirm?
Oh, it has. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's all absolutely flawless, but I honestly read more. If it's not Dawn of Fire, I read more Sigmar than I do 40k. That's no word of a lie. I actually do read more Sigmar. If I'm looking at my bookshelf and like, right, I want to reread one of these books, the book I go to that's my grab and go is Court of the Blind King and Scourge of Fate. It's not the Farsight novel. It's not Knights of Macragge. It's not The Mephiston or Shadowbreaker, which I'm just looking at novels that are on my bookshelf. But my grab and go is Court of the Blind King, which is the Ideneth novel, which is amazing.
Well, see, mine's Tolkien usually. I'll grab the Silmarillion on a regular basis. I've got it down to 3 times a year maximum. Then after I cheat by putting on the audiobook. It's just my security blanket. And I've always loved, say, Old World for that. Again, I wasn't playing so much that I got back into Warhammer 40k, so it has been 30 years since I actually read any of it. But again, reading some of the old codices, especially when I got the High Elves, I played a tiny bit of 8th. Obviously, the spells were disappointing. But the lore's just so good. And again, Age of Sigmar took a lot of stick, but that was mainly over the points, let's be honest.
I think it was more the fact that, well, it was partly no points. It was partly, basically, people were still bitter about Primaris Marines, and Stormcast looked exactly the same. Actually, which came first? Was it Primaris?
No, it wasn't. It was Stormcast. Yeah, but again, they were trying to open it up. I mean, there were a million reasons why they had to change it. I would have preferred both, but I see what they did and why they did it, blah, blah, blah. But again, I mean, some of the lore of, and oh my God, that little mini intro that they did on, for the Sigmar. You know what, the glorious one.
The trailer for 3rd edition.
Yeah, it's just absolutely awesome. I just don't have the time to do that, this, and everything else, unfortunately, and be on channel thingy. So
yeah, of course, especially with your second channel.
Oh, I've got 4. 2 more are coming. It's a bit tiring.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah. Oh, well, one of those things, though.
Yeah, of course.
Variety is the spice of life and all the rest of that. But, I mean, obviously, I can't do it forever, so I'm kind of trying to make a bit of a dent before I can't do it anymore, you know. I'm not saying that's immediately, not at all. But, again, other people like yourself, you've got 40, 50 years in you, haven't you?
Maybe so. But, I mean, I'm at the point now where my enjoyment in the hobby is... I enjoy hobbying. Like, I painted a couple of Slaneshi archers over the weekend. But where I get pleasure in the hobby is... painting for me is... I mean, I've said it as a joke to my kids, is that painting is just therapy. Hobby is just therapy. Yeah, in terms of, like, we had an inset day, and I was sat down with a giant pile of marking to do. And all of a sudden, some of the lads from work come across and are like, Warhammer? And I was like, all right, well, that's my afternoon gone. And we just played Warhammer all afternoon.
And you've got to when you're doing such a high-pressure job. I mean, when you're doing that many hours and you get the opportunity to have a bit of a laugh, you really have to take it, brother. You have to. I don't disagree. And just, I enjoy seeing other people get engaged in the hobby and telling them the stories and letting them paint their own models. Yeah. I'm not like going to sit here and say I'm a bloody philanthropist for Warhammer all of a sudden, but I get more out of the hobby, not by creating endless projects, because I've literally got 5 AOS armies that I can count off the top of my head. Yeah. I've got 5 AOS armies, 2 40k armies, and realistically probably enough for a third one. Oh, and a 6th AOS army, so I stand correct, I've got Stormcast too. So collecting and buying a project and making an army doesn't have the same appeal. I like having models and painting models and building models and playing games with them, but what I really enjoy is the community aspect of the hobby. And I think particularly with the pandemic, I really missed out on that in the pandemic because I went crazy painting. I did loads of painting, but I missed out. And the rest of the times to paint was when I was sat in my Discord with my friends or on a live stream where I was just chatting with people and hobbying away. And now I get to do that every week. I actually was at club tonight and I just sat there, painted, like I finished a model and I started another one. And I just sat there nattering away with a member of staff and a few students and helping some kids play a game. And it was just like, yeah, this is what Warhammer is for me now. Yeah. And I could not be happier with that because I get to find the game that defined my childhood and introduce it to a whole new community of people. And I mean, I've started... There's 1, 2, 3, 4,
5-6 students who I've just donated models to, and who've bought models off me on the cheap and have just run with it and made their own projects, and they're just on crusade with each other now. It's just so nice.
And I couldn't agree with you more. Obviously, I don't have the direct contact with people that you do. I'm almost jealous because our club has shrunk quite considerably, so we don't have that many fresh blood coming in. I really miss giving the starter missions and other such things, and getting them to beat me up, etc., and walk all over me with their, when they're learning their first couple of games, and then after that, putting them out into Gen Pop to get murdered. But I know exactly how you feel. And I've got to admit, I must be one of the only people, I thought I was, but obviously you were there as well, who just scrolls through Twitter and other things like comments and looks at pictures and just like regularly nodding, going, oh, that's gorgeous. Oh, that's wonderful. That's really good. And just, it's just, it's great. I absolutely love it. I hate all of the complexity.
There's one person you want to follow if you just want to look at pretty pictures, who retweets them all the time. Jewel Knight Jess, if you follow her on Twitter, the painter, she retweets pretty models all the time, including some really amazing conversions. So that's one it's not like I'm not being paid to promo or anything. It's just that's someone I follow who I know retweets loads of really cool looking miniatures. So
cool. Could you copy me on the next one, because I'm not near my phone at the moment, and we all know I'm
if you're on Twitter, I might I'll at some point if I see a tweet I'll DM it your way just to give you a link, because I've not got my phone in front of me right now.
No, as I say, sorry about that. But absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I love looking at great models. Obviously, I get tiny jealous, and then I go, come on, calm down. They've spent hundreds of hours doing that. You spent 100 hours doing other things. And I don't get disappointed with my own painting anymore. I just go, it's good enough for the tabletop. It's good enough to play with. That's enough. There we go. And then I can look at other people's glorious stuff and go, okay, fair enough. I can work harder and buy someone to do art if I absolutely need to. But again, I mean, I generally find, even if it's not a great job, if you actually put in enough effort and make it an okay job, it's your okay job. It's good enough to fly, I love that element.
And I get your love of the individual unique flavour characters, because what you're saying about making a project yours is, I've said this in a video not that long, well, it was a while ago, it's one of my more recent uploads, not called Podcastus, is conversions, in that those unique Blanchy style, or just your own take on conversions, they make a project yours. And it's really interesting, because obviously I've got so many different projects, and yet the ones that I feel really attached to, like I feel more attached to my orcs than I do my Tau. I love my Tau, do not get me wrong, but my orcs, A, were my first project, and B, I've done so many little conversions in kit bashes and my first attempts at not scratch building, but my first attempts at everything with crazy blending and painting and quick kit bashing and chopping stuff up. It was all done with my orcs. And with my AOS projects, I've just finished my Lumineth project. I've called time on it because I like my Lumineth. I love the models. I love the whole high elf range that, as I call it, as it now is the high elf replacement. But I don't have the same personal attachment to it as I do my Daughters of Cain, which I've had for a bit longer, and which have got little tiny conversions in kit bashes sprinkled throughout the whole project. I've done 2 pretty much total conversions to make unique queens. I've done a Bloodrat Medusa conversion. I've converted a couple of Melisai. And you do get attached to certain projects. And I think if I was to sell up, I think I'd be left with my orcs, because they're my fun army, and my daughters, because I just love them, and also they are quite a nice beat stick as well if I just need to go and kick some face in.
God,
Like my Idoneth, I've got a giant pile of Idoneth, and I want to ship off half of it. I'm still hoping to get some of it shipped off to Narina if we ever get back in contact. My Slanesh, ironically, is my vanity project, where I'm actually really flexing my painting muscles and actually trying really hard to paint them really well. But I've only painted for the mortals. I've literally painted 10 models because it's draining trying to paint models that well.
Yeah, that's the problem with the entire half-elf, high-elf, wood elf, any of the elf ranges. 1, they're gorgeous. 2, they're incredibly complicated. 3, they've all got open faces, or a lot of them do. And 4, if you so much as think hard about them, the universe smashes them. I'm not happy. I can't
and
take
5,
them
they're so
anywhere.
freaking spindly, you can't get your brush anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Then people say, oh, we'll just do sub-assembly painting. And I'm like, my actual greatest joy is probably making up armies. But then after that, secondly, building them. When it comes to painting, I have tried to sub-assembly, and then after that, I just have to end up building them anyway, and then trying. So yeah it's one of those things.
I do sub-assembly, to be fair. Like if I
can get away with
paint. If I can get away with it, I'll sub-assembly where I can. Like my Melisai, I leave the arms off. My Lumineth, admittedly, they were in 4 separate sub-assemblies each. Because they were a proper pain in the rear end to build.
I know, but doing Lumines, you've got to make them crisp. You've got to make them gorgeous. Any mistake in an entire unit of 10 stands out like a klaxon. It's a nightmare. I mean, I know. I play High Elves, and I've looked at my armies many, many times and gone, don't worry, I'll paint you soon. As soon as I've worked out some skills with my Space Marines. And you know what it's like. Then you spend 6 months not painting or playing, and then you're like, I'm back to start again. Bummer.
I relate. I completely get it, and I know going back to my Ideneth, if I ever do, I've got so many Thralls and Reavers I could paint, but I'm half tempted to just take a few Eels and Reavers and Thralls to club and just be like, you know what, if you fancy an advanced painting tutorial, have some elves, see how you get on.
Good luck, kid. He'll either make you or break you.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I get exactly what you mean, and it is really nice, and it's just interesting how your tastes and your desires in the hobby change from like, oh yeah, I really like this kind of unit to I really like this kind of thing, and this is the sort of part of the hobby I go for. Like I went from all about being competitive and trying to win against my friends to caring more about cool wacky conversions to caring about the lore to having a bit of a phase of really trying to paint, and now I'm just in it for the hobby, and it's nice to just evolve as a hobbyist rather than getting stuck in your lane. And I think we all three of us can relate about feeling a little bit stuck in our lane because of what we do.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I had this strange event as well, whereas I usually play, as I say, the games where I'm knocked out easily, or starter games with people, or I fold games. So if someone's having a bad day, I think I'll play them and get my head kicked in, not a problem. And we had a tournament down the club, and I rinsed 3 people in round 2 and 3, tabled them, and I was like, yeah, all right, I've still got it. But again, you don't have to do it. It's just if someone says, you're not very good, you're like, okay, you're in trouble now, boy. It's hand in wet water, and then a bang on the back of the legs. Go home and think about what I've just taught you. One of those
Sounds
things.
Good.
Remleiz?
Sorry, we've kind of just sort of accidentally shut you out there for the last 10 minutes.
Sorry.
That's all right. I kind of wish we were still on the topic about the heavy cavalry, because I wanted to say something there, but we've gone way past it.
Go for it. Bring it back.
Come back.
I was just going to say, do you remember when Lizardmen first came out and their heavy cavalry were Cold Ones ridden by skinks?
Wait, what?
The original
them as Saurus Knights. What?
Yeah.
When the army book first came out, they had skink Cold One riders. So basically, you had heavy cavalry that was toughness 2.
I know. It's like putting a grot on top of a squig-off and saying it's in charge. I mean, it's...
Mangler squigs say hi.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but Mangler squigs aren't toughness 2.
No. They don't have a toughness stat. The AOS doesn't have toughness stats.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't need them. I think it's quite elegant in that way.
Agreed.
There was also a skink Cold One Rider Dogs of War unit called Titchy Witchy.
Really? I'm not surprised, but I am elated to hear it again. I'll have to check that out.
Well, there you go. There's the image.
Oh, there we go. Yay! Oh, you've got to put these pictures up in the podcast, because that is just classic.
My editing software doesn't allow me to do picture-in-picture, so I'll leave a link in the video description below to the images.
Yeah, that is cool. Oh my god, you found it.
But yeah, back in the day, people complain about that Blood Bowl Snake Man having such a cheesy pun for a name, but when Lizardman first came out, everyone had shitty pun names. I mean, the character Ten Quang, the prophet of Sotek.
Yeah.
Originally, he was called Teeny Weeny.
I know.
In
but
7th
cricket,
edition, there was
etc.
Tic-Tac-Toe.
Yeah.
I was in 7th edition.
In the original Warmy book, there were skin characters called Itsy Bitsy, Teeny Weeny, Yellow Polka, and Dot Bikini.
Yeah. It was a strange time.
Yeah, the one that sticks with me is always Tic-Tac-Toe because that one just tickled me.
But it's the same period as, say, I don't know. Oh, God. No, I was going to say something. Archimedes, and things like that. So, yeah, again, there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek in all of it, which I obviously really enjoy.
Can we also point out that the stupidest lizardmen name that has survived to this day, just consider that Lord Croak. How has that not been memed to death? It's a frogman skeleton called Lord Croak. How is that not the stupidest name to not ever get memed? It's so stupid, but it's stuck.
It has stuck, and I don't know, but the model's gorgeous.
Oh, take nothing away from the model, just the name's fucking stupid. And we just completely let it slide and got on with it.
Well, I know, but sometimes you got to look at something and go, too much to say, gonna move on.
There was also a crocodile-like lizard man called Croc.
Yes. Yeah, Gar, wasn't it?
Crocodile was a separate character. In the original book, there was a character called Croc who was described as looking like a crocodile.
Yeah, fair. But that was linked with the events of Batman of that period as well, where Doc Croc and other things were going in, wasn't it?
Killer Croc, I think, is the DC character.
Oh, my mistake. Sorry about that. And also, you've got the Clegs. You've also got the Clegs from 2000 AD, which are crocodiles as well, didn't you? So it was all there at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it actually was quite interesting talking to some people tonight about how the Imperial Guard and the Space Marines became the Astra Militarum and the Adeptus Astartes of just the naming conventions that we just sort of got used to. Because do you remember when Astra Militarum was the thing in 6th edition? Everyone lost their mind.
Yeah, I know.
No, they're the Imperial Guard. You can't call them anything but the Imperial Guard. I will never call them Astra Militarum. It's we know they're just doing it for copyright reasons. We still call them a guard and no one will care.
Oh, no, we still get comments. Saying, it's good, the guard, shut up. Stop doing this. I'm like, really?
What people seem to forget is that literally, if you open up the very first page of the 8th edition Astra Militarum Codex, it says Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard.
Yeah. It does.
It's basically saying, it's the same thing, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and all over the vernacular as well, all over that 8th edition Codex says, Imperial Guard. So, yeah.
Oh, dear.
Oh, everyone's gone.
No, it's still there.
Oh, sorry, I was in the middle of a Pringle. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, my mistake.
You and your bloody Pringles.
Sorry, I'm hungry.
I'm hungry now when you're talking about Pringles.
Well, you know what they say, once you pop, you can't stop.
Well, this is true.
Hey!
Well, so what, since we're talking about the Astra Militarum, let's bring ourselves back to a little bit of news. There's a new Astra Militarum novel coming out called Witchbringer, which is about a guard officer. It's more than that, actually. It's a Cadian officer who becomes who is a latent psyker, who suffers through the psychic awakening, becomes a much more powerful psyker, is trained as a primarchs psyker, and then sent back to her original regiment.
And I think that is a fantastic idea. I absolutely adore the front cover. I know I shouldn't be that shallow, but I think it looks great. Also has them in the right respect, as in she's forward, they're in the back in the mist, almost with their guns possibly trained on her, but not. You see what I mean? She's in the group, but she's separate. It says everything that's going to happen in the book in my mind, and it just looks great. I think it's a storming idea, and again, I'm hoping to pick it up one day. Won't be soon,
Agreed.
But I'm looking forward to reading that one. I've got to admit, I probably prefer some of the the human view more than the Astartes all of the time. Do you know what I mean? There's
nothing wrong with the Space Marine novel, but it's the guard. As much as the first novels I ever read were Space Marine novels, I always, as much as I don't always read them, I always like reading guard books. Yeah. Always do. They're always good. I have not read a bad guard book.
Well,
I'm sure Ram can think of one, but
I think that one of the main problems a lot of people have with space marine focused novels is that it's very easy for them to fall into the trap of just turning into bolter porn.
Yeah, but I mean, on the other hand, people pick up bolter porn on purpose.
Yeah, no, but a lot of the bolter porn books are shit. I mean, look at Daemnos. Daemnos was terrible.
I didn't read it. I'm glad it's going off the list. Thank you for the warning. One of those things. No, I see what you mean. And I can't disagree. I mean, my problem is sometimes when they're describing combat, you can't actually close your eyes and see it. Do you see what I mean? You don't know where the tank is. How many times are they charging down this one tunnel? I'm like, okay, and then someone else jumps out, but you've not told me where from. You've not described the hallway in the first instance, so I can't see that that side doorway is going to open or not, or what, So
it's very difficult. It's really difficult.
It can be. But I mean, sometimes people just go into the book and they write the highlights, but it ends up being more of a drugged dream. Do you see what I mean? And you've got people swimming in front of you, etc. Whereas I think just take a pace back, let's have another 2 drafts, and you turn a great book into a spectacular book. But again, that's just me.
It's difficult because I really struggle to in general, even no matter how well written the book is, I really struggle to visualize the flow of battle in a written book. If they're not ranked up before a battle, because this is why I can follow an AOS battle much more easily, because I can see ranks and positioning and visualize it in my head before it begins. But the way my head works is it kind of follows the battle kind of in first-person action cam rather than the overarching, over-the-shoulder kind of position. So, for example, I was reading Volpone Glory, which is a very good book, if very depressing. And they were doing a storming of this Imperial fort, they're being taken over by Chaos, this gun fort. And all I could see in my head was a curved wall that looked like hell was bloody deep. I have no idea why. I don't think they ever described the wall as being round and with a flat top, but it just looked like Helm's Deep to me, because that's all my head could do. And that's no mark against, I think it was Nick Kime who wrote it. But if you spend all that time laying out the imagery, 1, your book's going to be 600 pages long, and 2, still, a lot of people are not going to be able to keep pace with what's going on. I get where you're coming from, I really do, but your brain has a lot of gaps to fill, and some brains just can't do it.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying. Some can't, etc. And a lot of people go first person through all of the combats, etc. And that does make a lot of sense because you're following the character. I totally get that. It's not a carte blanche attack. It's just when they are purely describing something which is not about the characters, it is just about the conflict and the conflict of 2 forces. When they don't get it right, I'm like, But yeah, again, one of those things. Again, nothing is for everyone. I'm just thinking if you're going to if you're building up your book to a major battle, make it so people can actually see that battle. But yeah, again, most people fill in most of a book anyway. If you actually ask someone to draw out the book, then, there'll be 99% more information than there was the 1% that was actually contained in the word.
Yeah, that's true.
As it should be. We fill it in ourselves, as we should do.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Right, there's one more piece of news, but I've actually just had a click of the White Dwarf preview for this month, White Dwarf 478, and I hadn't actually read this article because I never really do, but I had a quick flick, and they've actually set up a mini-series where they're going to refight the fate of Barbarus, which is obviously Mortarian's homeworld.
Oh yeah, and it also shows us what the fuck Corax and Russ were actually doing during the siege.
It would be nice. I've not read the White Dwarf yet, but I'm hoping to get one possibly on Sunday so I can read about that. I did hear Valrax screaming to the high heavens about the Dark Angels peeing on Inwit when it was sieged, etc. I mean, I don't know much about that myself, so I'm going to have to read up on the White Dwarfs, but it was so funny to watch him, his little face get so angry.
Yeah, but let's be honest, not only Imperial Fisk give a toss about Inwit these days, because saying that Terra's their main criminal world now, so...
Well, yeah.
So it's like, well, no big loss, we lost him, but we still got Terra, so fuck it.
Waste not, want not. Spilt milk.
It's funny you say waste not, want not, considering what they do with their waste.
Well, yeah. Nomming on
Back to that.
Dinner.
The chocolate marbles.
Oh.
No, I'm still not letting that go because it was so stupid.
Yeah, this is true.
And somewhere Tactica's smashing their face into their desk.
Oh, sorry, Tactica.
No, it's fine. I was actually just reading the little blurb for Fate of Barbarus, so I completely zoned you out.
Phase you out,
Oh,
you
good.
old
Don't worry.
birds.
But yeah, from what I can recall, basically, Lion turned up at Deliverance where both Corax and Russ were, and Lion's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing? You know,
Yeah.
are you really loyal to the Emperor if you're not helping with the siege?" And then Russ basically steps in and goes, "No, Corax is cool. You know, he saved my life. You know, after I basically fucked up and got my legion slaughtered at the hands of the Assault and Vengeful Spirit. But Corax is cool. We'll join you for an assault on Barbarus. Corax can't come, but he's going to give us some weapons. So that cool? Okay, cool."
Did you have a sick note? Corvus Corax cannot come in today because...
He had his wings clipped.
Maybe just had a bowl cut. Oh no, he's already got one.
He's having an emo moment.
He's looking a bit pale today. I'm afraid he can't come in.
Hey.
Ding.
About right though. No, I'm hoping. I'm really looking forward to when they bring him back. Imagine the model they're going to be able to do.
Well, if they bring him back.
There's no money in dead or non-existent primarchs. They'll bring them back. They're bringing them all back.
You say that, but they sell models of Ferrus Manus and Sanguinius,
which are both playable in
And
40k. In 30k, sorry.
They also sell models of Almvar, who is dead. Almvar.
Space Bone.
Almvar. Yeah. I know. But I would
Tycho
never
alive
understand
as a hologram.
that. Well, I would never understand that at all. I don't get that. Why? Because he's just a historic figure, isn't he? So why did you get
he was
model?
alive. He was murdered at the end of 7th edition.
Oh, right. Sorry. No, I'm thinking of the chap who was their greatest leader, Puretide. My mistake. I do apologise. It's very hard.
Almvar was alive until the final assault on the Damocles Gulf, where he was murdered by an assassin, and now the Tau faked that by turning him into a hologram. So he's now living on as a hologram, and no one is ever allowed to touch him because it would cause mass panic.
Fairy snuff.
And if his chair gets destroyed, he'll make the Windows shutdown noise. Ding, 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 ding.
There you go. You got your head desk.
Hey.
There we go.
Right. Final news article, just because we just need to wrap up with that, because we have done everything else, is the Einhir Hearthguard for the Leagues of Votan. So these are the squat heavy infantry models. The most
Squat
StarCraftiest
Terminators.
thing. Sorry, say that again, Ram?
The squat Terminators.
I can't get StarCraft out of my head.
Well, people say that, but I gain more image of the Doomslayer because of that orange sword. It reminds me of the Doomslayer.
I see what you mean. Now, I never played much StarCraft. I've got to admit they're infinitely better. Oh, I know it's a very different aesthetic. They're infinitely better than the exosuits which were there for the squats. I had a couple of those and they were a bit poo, to be honest. They looked great, but the problem is they were so small that any kind of like lumbering, look at my heavy armour. It's like, yeah, I know, but what's inside must be about a 2-year-old. It just didn't work for me even back then in the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s. Whereas I do like this. It's just I just cannot afford the space, the energy or the painting of having another army like that. No, but again, I think they are great. Maybe in a couple of years I'll be able to get into them. But I'm far more happy about them being on the board and being able to kill them. And then at least I can enjoy playing with them by playing against them.
Yeah, absolutely. They're actually some really nice. They are, as much as I'm sort of whinging a little bit, they are really simple yet cool looking models. I'm not a huge fan of the Votan aesthetic. I like what they're doing with them. I think it's a really unique take, and I like what they've done. It's not an army like you say that I would go out and get.
No.
Mind you, that's for me is less because I haven't got the time or energy or pay or money. It's more that I just don't really like the aesthetic in general. I've always preferred elves to dwarves in fantasy, and it kind of carries over here.
No, same here. I do what you mean. Now, I do respect and I do really love a good dwarf army. I have played, what's it called? Fantasy dwarf armies. I respect them. But if someone put a gun to my head and said elf or dwarf, I'd be like, elves every day, all day, shut up. You know?
Yeah.
But the thing here for me is, again, some of the different units I've got very different reactions to. I don't mind these Terminator-esque power armors. I don't mind their main frontline units. I don't like the prospectors. Again,
they're
they
Necromunda,
are
so
great.
they aren't. They're for Necromunda, so they're a very different take. They're not actually full leagues of Votan.
I know, but realistically, I've always seen Necromunda as the kind of thing where they guinea pig test things. So
what about
there's 10 of them.
Buggy? What do you think of the buggy thing?
Buggy, I liked. I love the. Are you talking about the bike?
The grab bike.
The grab bike. Yeah, I absolutely adored that. I really liked that. It's only the prospectors I don't like. And again, I can't really put my finger on why. It's just I'm just very nonplussed about them. Again, they're perfectly good models. They're very, very excellently executed. You know, they're really, really good. They just don't float my boat.
Agreed. That's fair. Right, and
just get ready for the conspiracy theories when you notice that on the side of that armor it says Tau.
Yeah, as it should do. Because we've always had the what are they called? Come on,
Demiurge.
That cute Demiurge. And yeah, I would have thought that I really hope that the Scots, or whatever you want to call them, Votan can actually be allied in with the Tau, because I think the Tau should have allies in there. I always saw them as the kind of thing, all of their mythology and of the actual faction is that it's many people doing many things, getting together and doing this. I mean, it's why they haven't made the Stingwings a lot better and brought out more of them. They'd be awesome. Do you see what I mean? All these things like the Kroot coming together and having these as well in there with Tau, I think would just be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the Votan did give the Tau ion technology.
Yeah.
I think they've always said, and of course this is older lore, that the Demiurge were Xenos. So what I'm thinking is, I don't think Demiurge is going to be the Tau word for squat or Votan.
Well, it can't be, considering that Demiurge was used as a term during the Horus Heresy by the Alpha Legion, so...
Exactly.
I didn't know that. Thank you, guys. Yep.
So my guess is it could be that the Demiurge were, sort of like how the squats were human, that they're now a completely incompatible species. Yeah. They might go in that direction, or it might just be that the Demiurge and the squats found common cause, because the squats were miners and technology collectors and the type and researchers at their core. If
Convergent evolution.
Say again?
Convergent evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of like they crossed paths and found common goal, like the Tau and the Kroot have, and now the Demiurge sort of maybe are the squat fleet.
Yeah,
so for example, when the squats go out because their whole goal in life is to go out and explore and find the information and give as much information back to the Votan as possible, and they will go mercenary to do that. Maybe the Votan and the Demiurge found common cause and now travel together as sort of not symbiotic, but as a working relationship, and that's how the squats travel. Instead of using human ships, they use the advanced technology of the Demiurge, and maybe that helped create the Votan in the first place. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think I would like the Votan to almost be, when the STCs were breaking down, they said, okay, what can we build which is better, and then converted to Votan, something like that. But again, I'm excited for all of the lore. I think it's going to be amazing. The only thing I'm worried about is with all of the changes, getting rid of that suffocating, everything's becoming darker, everything's getting nastier, everything's creeping doom dark, which is mainly about the technology and everything else, and the losing of it. Whereas I find that bringing in too many things may absolutely change this cocktail, which is we call Warhammer 40, and add just a little bit too much either lemonade or whatever liquor and spoil it. But again, obviously I'm old, so we don't like change. I do love change. I just want it to stay within the boundaries of what will make that magnificent apple pie still the apple pie, instead of someone just saying, and here's some figs in the middle. Do you see what I mean? So I'm just worried about the technology not stagnating and going forward. And you can say, Core's done that already, but I think that's only in a limited way. Whereas if it comes that everything's getting better, I think they might lose some of the claustrophobia which made it such a great setting. But again, we'll never know until it's changed.
With regards to the Votan and the whole technology stagnation, we know that as much as they still innovate and have their ancestor cores, we know the ancestor cores are slowing down.
Oh, yeah, they're breaking, absolutely. It's like having a ZX Spectrum.
Yeah, it's not that they can still do stuff, but what used to be a calculation now takes a year.
Yeah.
What used to be a quick fix of a weapon and a new schematic now takes a century. So as much as I agree that I don't want to get rid of that 1 minute to midnight, everything's falling apart type thing, I don't think the squats are, it's kind of like the Tau. The Tau are innovative, coming up with new technology, a last flame of progress in the darkness.
I don't mind the Tau doing that because they're outnumbered so badly. They need it. And also it's because they are different, because they're such a small faction, having that technological advance makes them dangerous, which is what I've stated in all of my videos. And anything time I'm talking to people, it's like, you can laugh at the Tau now, but if you leave it 200 to 500 years, the Emperor, the Imperium will not be able to do anything like the Damocles, and they only got a fucking draw. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do, absolutely. But the Tau, and I've said this before, are falling into human habits.
They are.
Xenophobia. And things like that.
You can see why, with the psychic awakening happening, it did not help. They got real reason to hate humans.
No, but what I more mean is it's not that they're falling into hating humans, that they're generally being xenophobic, even to their own auxilia, like the Kroot.
I didn't know that. When was that being highlighted more? Again, not arguing with you, just interesting.
That was the fourth sphere expansion. So the third sphere was all the sort of up to Damocles. Damocles burns. The fourth...
Go on.
Sorry. So the fourth sphere is launched using the new teleport drive, the new wormhole drive. And it gets lost. It goes missing.
Oh, I know that bit. I know they can come in, they have real problems with the humans that they've used and other people that they've met, psychic awakening, etc. When you say the auxiliaries, I know they had a problem with the Gevasa. I didn't think they had a problem with Kroot or anyone else. What happened there?
They get into it.
All auxiliaries were withdrawn from fourth sphere fleets.
Right.
Once they remade contact, some commanders were put through, I've forgotten its name.
Oh, I know.
I think it's the Malkla ritualistic punishment for their actions. And almost no fourth sphere fleets, commanders, etc., have got auxiliaries attached to them in some cases because of the xenophobia and the mistrust. Because bear in mind, Kroot are slightly psychic and do have the ability to have psychic, we just never see it. The Nikasar are incredibly psychic.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no blank species that I am aware of in the Tau Empire. Plus, of course, the Gevasa, obviously. But the whole thing of, I think there was a lot of the idea of the God of the Greater Good was blamed on the auxiliaries who created it through their faith and their warp science, their mind science, created this being, and they just hated it and distrusted it. And I've forgotten his name as well. I want to say Sure Strike or something, who was the fourth sphere supreme commander, basically fell in line under Shadowsun, and Shadowsun had to just censure and withdraw the fourth sphere and start again. That's being a bit over dramatic in terms of they still were there, but they had their auxiliaries pulled away, many of them were censured, put through reconditioning, etc., because of what they'd been through. And the Tau, rather than acknowledge this as some of our society have a problem with other species, was no, that never happened, and they covered it up like the Imperium does. And they fall for their own hubris of, we are superior, we will prevail through the power of our technology and the greater good, like the Eldari did and like humans have done.
True.
They are falling into the same galactic death spiral. And we've discussed this on a podcast before, about the idea that no matter what you are, the galaxy will get you. Because it is horrible, it is grim, it is dark, it is awful, and it will get you. One way or the other, whether it's physically kill you or break your species mentally and societally, it will get you. And the squats are the same. They're not they're a very much close-knit, tightly cut-off community from much of the galaxy, as we know until now. But they've still been going through the degradation of technology, even as they keep pressing forward. They've been witness to the horrors of war, even if they've not been in the middle of it. There was a rumour that they all went extinct because of random Tyranids ate them. So
yeah. But I mean, realistically, you've also got the very strange situation with the Votan, whereas we squatties are actually clones, whereas previously they've had real problems with clones. And again, I think in the lore there is a really weird kind of juxtaposition where so many people say, no, if you're a clone, you don't get a soul. Well, Drukhari. So obviously, yeah, we'll have to talk about this afterwards or something because that could take us ages. But I do find the entire clone thing rather odd. Yes, I've seen your videos on it, Rem. Go on.
I was just going to say, like, considering that, the pariah gene stops you from getting a soul, it's clear that having a soul in the first place is the result of a biological process. So if you're a clone, obviously your body's going through, same biological processes when you grows, you got to grow your own bloody soul.
Yeah. And again, otherwise the Drukhari would not exist because the vast majority of them are clones.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and we know...
It's very rare you get a trueborn, yeah.
The bit that actually intrigues me about the Votan soul thing is about the ability to turn psychic powers on and off again. Like, having soul amplifiers to make their own navigators and then turn them off again when they don't need it. That bit is the bit that confuses me.
And isn't it exciting to have that technology? Again, that does sound brilliant. Again, I haven't read all of the Votan stuff because I was thinking I'll just wait for the book. You know what I mean? I almost, like a kid at Christmas, want that moment because, again, doing what we do so much, I found that when I actually got a toy in my hand, I was not excited anymore. And it kind of wrecked it for me a little bit. So some things, like, this codex, I've been trying to avoid a bit. So I do have that, 8-year-old at Christmas open up the book and smell it, look at all the pictures and go, ooh, I didn't know any of this.
That's fair. That is more than fair, to be fair.
Okay, again, it's squats. They're lovely. But yeah, I am looking forward to all of it. But I'm just wondering how they're squaring the circle with these things, or if they're just going, everything's canon, everything's maybe not true, and who cares, that kind of thing. Again, not popping at them. It's a huge organisation, but sometimes they make mistakes, as you know, which I don't think they need to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying.
I was going to say, you say sooner or later the galaxy will get you, unless you're the orcs.
I know, but they used to be Krork, so realistically, it's already got them.
At the same time, they're not. They're happy, they're thriving. What's more? There's no, none of this real xenophobia. They just look. They don't care who you are as long as you can put up a good fight.
Exactly.
Yeah, the orcs have a very different approach. It's almost like it's like subconsciously they realize, this place is a murder hellhole, but. So we may as well just have some fun while we're at it. They've not given up, but they've sort of stopped caring, and they don't really care. They're like, there's a new crazy murder thing on the scene. More things to fight then, I guess.
But again, since they devolved from Krork, they haven't had to worry about anything because they're completely, culturally retarded, in the correct use of the word, as in they've gone completely retrograde, and they're like angry toddlers, aren't they, really? So, it's fine. But the universe has already got them. I still don't blame on the Eldar, but there you go.
Well, I mean, they were engineered to do one thing, punch people in the face. And the galaxy is a place that is all about punching people in the face, whether it's with a lightning bolt or with a power fist. So,
and do you remember post-Heresy when the orcs nearly made humanity extinct?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. We remember the talking moon. We haven't forgotten.
Yep, beast, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Still can't get over the fact they made a planet literally fucking talk.
Oh, don't.
It's the orcs. What do you expect?
If you're going to open up an orc book and expect everything to be serious, one of those things.
There's a difference between serious and at least plays lip service to the laws of logic and physics. And Narem, I know exactly what you're about to say to that. But there is
orcs.
Orcs. But there's a difference between it works through the power of mind science to I can make a planet literally have a mouth and talk.
But Unicron!
Somewhere, it's always been the Beast of Rise series. It's always been that series where the line of that is the series that jumped the shark for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone's got that thing that jumped the shark. the talking planet jumped the shark for me.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, when it gets, you have to put in more effort to suspend your disbelief than actually believing it, then yeah, you're in trouble. I've got you on that one. I think there's a better line to draw in the sand than that one, because I don't really know what happened in the Beast. I mean, as in, I don't know why they did that, or what kind of crystal meth they were on at the time.
To be honest, I think the main reason why I did that miniseries was just so we could lead up to the events of the beheading, which was like a huge pivotal event in the lore that had never really been explored.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that was purely the reason.
Well, I know, but to bring Vulcan back and have, like, basically the prime orcs, really? Anyway, just to do the beheading scene, yeah, you didn't have to do all that. But
I mean,
either way, it was
go big or go home, you know?
This is true.
I mean, I'm still waiting for, the Age of Apostasy novel series, but hey.
Oh, then now that would be good.
The Reign of Blood, the founding of the Sisters of Battle.
Grandera. Indeed, no, I really get behind that. But I've got to admit, my thing is, I don't necessarily the books, but I would love to have eventually. And I know I'm one of these people who say I don't want to know too much about the history, but because it defines it, doesn't make it mysterious. But the one thing we really could have is the Unification Wars.
I mean, we have had a few books that have touched upon them.
The models will be absolutely fantastic. I mean, there's so much going on there. It makes most of the Horus Heresy look like a painted picture party compared. So if you actually look at what was there, just by what was hinted at, etc., it's just ludicrous. And I think that should be, when they finally burnt out with the Horus Heresy, when they've done the scouring and everything else like that, if they're not going to do a civil war amongst the returned brothers, because brother on brother is always the best battle, then they should definitely get into the Unification Wars, because that would just be
silly question,
amazing.
Silly question. Have you read the Constantine Valder novel?
No, not yet.
Because that's set entirely during the Unification Wars, like right near the end of it.
Again, but I think we should go, because that went on for a fair old whack of time. I think we could go on. Yeah, I think, and again, the forces which are involved.
It's like the events of things like, it was literally just after the events of Mount Ararat.
Yeah, with the Unification Wars, I think even reading the Heresy Black books, which sort of introduce you to some of the prehistory of the legions and all that sort of thing, the things they did at the end of the Unification Wars, like the Dark Angels and the Salamanders, for example.
Well, all of them had something to do. Well, most of them. Yeah, apart from the Trifle or whatever they were, yeah.
Yeah, the Salamander's always the one that comes to my mind when I think about it.
Oh, Endymion Heights, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think so. Forgotten its name on top of my head.
Yeah, something like Endymion Heights, where they fought the Men of Iron. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. But it always struck me as like, even by the time that the Heresy Black books were written, the Unification Wars was a time of myth. And I'm aware that that's what the Heresy was to 40k when the Heresy began. It was a little text box that got turned into a 50-odd novel series and then an extra novel series. Yeah. But I think the Unification Wars is so... it's hard to explain, zany in the things that were happening there. It's like, well, that happened, so why haven't we seen it again? Or that happened, well, that doesn't make sense because this happened. And trying to square an already conflicting amount of lore about what's going on. If you're going to do the Unification Wars, I think you almost have to stop the series at Ararat, because you cannot
you would.
any, and you can't have the Astartes in it. For me, because if you put the Astartes in it, you start then crossing over and starting to have to you play by 30k rules of how a Space Marine works and how a bolt gun works. Whereas if you stop it with the debut of the Astartes being the end of the series and end it there, don't talk about them at all.
Well, you can't even do that because the debut of the Astartes was the thing that happened in the Valdor novel.
And again, there's plenty of that before the end of the war. But I mean, there is one major element we're all forgetting, though, which is think of the poor Iron Hands. Poor Iron Hands. If we actually went through the actual, the Unification Wars, and then we actually had some of the early to mid parts of the Crusade, they would have a reason to love themselves again. Because let's be honest, what is it? Book 3, Book 4, Fulgrim, he gets his head lopped off. Nothing after that. So Iron Hands have had a really rough time. I know it's thin, but that's what I'm going to say.
Do you remember the time when the Iron Hands recovered the bits and pieces of Ferrus Manus' corpse and made a living statue out of it?
Let's not go there. Wasn't it Vulcan who smashed it to pieces?
Yeah, Vulcan got pissed off and smashed it with his hammer.
And I can't blame him. That's really bad necromancy. It's like with the Dark Eldar taken around to the Eldar and said, yes, we find you're dabbling in necromancy entertaining, when they were talking about wraith units.
I mean, if any Space Marine Legion can do necromancy, it is the Iron Hands. I mean, they do have the keys of hell.
Yeah, that is true. But again, Iron Hands really could do with something. I mean, they've got to either bring him back as, I don't know, the leader of the Legion of the Damned, or they've got to give some kind of a flashback for him, because there's nothing there.
I need to cut you off there a second, because I see a lot of people misinterpreting that one line from Master of Mankind, where, he's just like, the Emperor launches a Ferrus Manus-shaped attack, and people say, "Oh, he's the leader of the Legion of the Damned." It's like, no, it's literally just a Ferrus Manus-shaped fireball. Even says he was briefly reborn.
I wasn't referring to that, though. I was just saying I mean, we know that Sanguinius' soul is still wandering about the place, etc.
It's trapped in the vengeful spiritist.
And yet it still gets out to talk to Dante.
Well, in fairness, you don't know if it. Well, you don't know if it's actually Sanguinius' soul, or if it's actually just Dante hallucinating because he's near death.
It could just be Dante is high on death at this point.
Could very well be. I don't think so. But realistically, Ferrus... No, don't go there.
It's not Sanguinor.
Don't go there. But again, we're still back to Ferrus not having anything, and again, being the in charge of the Lord, the Legion of the Damned, etc., is purely because he's one of the few spirits out there that hasn't got any chance of doing anything else. That's all. That's the only reason I say that. It has nothing to do with Master of Mankind. I do know the quote, obviously, but I just think that if you're going to have someone in charge of that, and they are fully going into the Emperor being a full god now, and they are going fully into, living saints, etc., which are just demons, as we all know. So realistically, why would you not have one of your major souls, which he said he could fix, come out and whoop some?
Yeah.
I've got a better idea, and it's a more controversial idea. Just flat out say that Ferrus Manus' soul became the Sapphire King.
Oh, mate, don't be a bastard. That's really not nice. They topped him recently, didn't they?
But think about it though.
Well,
imagine the storytelling potential that could have if the Iron Hands find out that their Primarch has become a demon. So it's like you got a loyalist chapter with like a demonic Primarch. Yeah. Imagine the storytelling potential, like in a conflict and stuff like that. Like, do we follow her gene file? Do we bring more to the Emperor? That kind of thing. That'd be really interesting for storytelling purposes.
Actually, you're selling it. You are selling it. My eyebrows are up. My ears are pricked.
I know who I'd do that with. I understand they're doing it with Manus, but I think because the Sapphire King's a Slaaneshi demon, isn't he? So I think Manus is pushing it. The one I'd really want to do that with is Russ. Because as much as Russ coming back is the end time and yada yada bollocks, but I want Russ to come back as an absolute feral, no sense of what's going on, doesn't really know who he is or who the Emperor is anymore, lunatic.
Well,
my only problem with that is he's already got so much. He nearly killed the Horus. I mean, he's done loads of wapassery. He was the second found.
Bury him.
He's loads
That's what I mean. Bury him.
But again, he's done loads of stuff. Come on, give something for Ferrus. Think of the little ones. Come on, they get so little.
Those get it.
Poor Iron Hand players. They're shit on. They are. No one is shit on like them. Not even the word bearers.
I think you find out the White Scars players get even less than the Iron Hands.
No, they do not.
Yeah, they do.
The White Scars Primarch has survived the whole heresy and got one novel. He got as many novels as Ferrus, and he's been alive the whole time.
I know, but he's been in the background of most of them. He can still do stuff.
The Iron Hands have a whole novel series. The White Scars have one fucking novel.
No,
again, they're only really a sideshow because they've tagged him in with the Raven Guard.
Oh, no, and I said exactly the same. I don't think it should be either or. I think it should definitely be both, as the meme says. Why not both? Have both of them get much more stuff. Because there's been a groundswell in the last 3 years, I've noticed, and a lot more interest in the White Scars, but they just haven't been supported. So you've got fanatical players who are being starved again. But that doesn't mean that they are less starved than the Iron Hands. The Iron Hands and the White Scars definitely need more books, more figures, more heroes, more everything, just more. And then after that, there'll be it'll just be better. It will be better. Carry on.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think more balanced support is always a good thing.
I just want to point out, Ferrus Manus caught a las cannon beam and crushed it.
Oh, don't.
Yeah,
don't.
I know.
Don't. Just don't.
I mean, I remember when we had David Geimer on the show and we asked him about that, and his response was like, yeah, it was cool.
Okay. Yeah. Again, different folks, different strokes, and wonderful. Yum.
Yeah, I think just
I can crush light.
Can you now? There's that suspension of disbelief going there. It's been really stretched at the moment, mate.
Yeah. But circling back to the whole idea of things to do with different plot threads, I think the one thing I don't ever want them to do, because you mentioned the Legion of the Damned, is if you made Ferrus leader of the Legion of the Damned, then that means that you've done one of two things. One, you have said that the Legion of the Damned are spirit warriors or demons.
Yep.
And while I personally do believe them to be demons, or at least partly warp entities, absolutely, I think that air of mystique around them, we can always say, oh yeah, the Living Saints are demons and the Legion of the Damned are demons, but I don't want them to go there. And interestingly, in the most recent Dawn of Fire novel, Gilliman outright says, in his personal opinion, I talked, and in extreme air quotes, with the Emperor. The Emperor didn't talk. The Emperor's not there. Like, he was communicated with, and he can barely understand or remember any of it, and it was an incredibly painful experience. But for all the Emperor is or is not, he is not a god. Even Gilliman, who has met the shell of the man, does not believe the Emperor is a god, and still believes that a lot of the miracles that are attributed to the Living Saints could be some other entity at work, hence the return of the Star Child theory, which we discussed last time. I don't want them to ever say, as much as I've made my name off of a video about is the Emperor a Chaos God, I don't want them to say it, because I don't want it to be, there are actually good demons. Demons are demons, and they are all in evil. You can't have
you can call them angels.
You can't have a good Chaos God. They actually had to fix this problem because the lizard men are now starbound entities, but they have a different keyword. They're celestials. Because
I know, but you're playing semantics then. The entire thing that everything in the universe is evil and everything goes to bad and nastiness, I completely get. I really, really do. It's part of the grimdark of it. But unfortunately, people are missing the fact that it is actually a warning. The entire setting is a warning not to believe that humanity is evil. Everyone's bad and everything's shit. Because I've heard that recently in videos, and I thought, my God, you've missed the entire warning of all of Warhammer, which is basically, it's not like that, but it could be. People aren't like that, but it could be. But
I thought the entire warning of Warhammer was beware of Margaret Thatcher.
It was more than just that. It was the punk movement entire and all of the 2000 AD.
I'm being facetious.
Yes,
here,
I know. But I mean, to say that, I mean, that there can be no positive angels, if you don't like the word demon, I would refute, and I would say that if they're going to bring in lots of new technology, they're going to change it forward, they're going to take it away from midnight, then they should bring in the elements that they've already brought in, because otherwise, what is Celestine, etc.?
Yeah, I think what I would say is what Sigmar's done to solve the problem is demons are bound to the realm of chaos, and the Celestials are bound to the realm of heavens. The problem that 40k has is, unless they're going to make the human webway type, or the webway itself, a dimension that things can be drawn from, the warp is, pardon my French, fucked. The warp is utterly screwed up.
It is.
And as a result, there is no room in the warp for order, sense, nobility, honour, logic, all that stuff that the warp used to reflect with the emotions that were there. Absolutely. It used to be like that, and then it got up.
But that is only true while people believe it to be true. And there are millions and millions and billions and trillions over many, many, many millennia of time who have believed that the Emperor is a Lord of Order and a Lord of Good. So therefore, perhaps, again, he is the fifth one, and he is actually carving out his new home, and he is becoming a member of the Great Game. And in that case, he would have to have an army. The Souls of the Dead would be the exact place where he would get them.
I think we're both overlooking one important thing here in terms of why demons are called demons in 40k, especially with their specific spelling of Daemon, because that comes from ancient Greek, and Latin, and
Daemon,
and the definition is a divinity or a supernatural being of a nature between gods and humans, which sums up good and evil entities, essentially.
Exactly. So demon is only the Christian or Judeo-Christian perspective on it, and only because of the way it's been projected. But they are at the very end of the day, they are all made of warped stuff.
Yeah.
Full stop. They're all exactly the same.
Yeah, I was going to say, literally, angel, demon. You can call them angels if you want, you can call them demons if you want, but demon, as in the 40k spelling of demon, applies to pretty much any warp entity that is not a god.
Absolutely. And I have no objection to there having been, in the past, noble demons who were guardian angels and guiding hands and muses and chips on the shoulder and all that thing. I have no objection to them saying that was what the warp used to be like. But for all you're saying, there's been trillions of people believing in the Emperor being a god. Has that helped at all? The warp has got worse and worse and worse. And I'm not saying
you can blame the Necrons for that.
You can thank the Necrons for it. You can thank the Eldari for it. You can thank humans
for it. Yeah,
absolutely. There's a lot of big issues there. I just personally feel, and if Games Workshop are going in the direction you're suggesting, I will run with it to the moon and back. That's fine. I just personally feel that everything that we're saying about there being positivity, going back to the Votan and the Tau, this hope in the darkness, it's there. But it's a guttering flame that we know is going to go out. And the warp is the reflection of the physical galaxy. The two influence the other. And that spark of hope, that faith that the humans have and that the Tau have and all of that stuff, the warp is shaped by it, but overwhelmingly the galaxy is a place for all that hope and all that faith where that faith dies and is twisted and used to oppress and push people down.
No.
And
I absolutely agree with you if things are to stay as they were. But with Call, all bets are now off. With the Tau, all bets are now off. So you've got a choice. You either keep it to what it was, always grimdark, and as you say, always evil, everything's terrible, it's a suffocating, horrible universe, but they're taking away so many of the pinning different issues and elements which made that work, like Asimov's, histories as well of the Foundation, etc. All of that was used in its original form. When you take too much of that away, you are left with this kind of blancmange of, is everything evil or is it not? Because you've taken away so many of the pinning and intellectually stimulating elements which define it and make it and explain it. But when you've got so much stuff which is now really testing that quite heavily, because again, why not capture the Tau and then enslave them and get them to work for the Adeptus Mechanicus, blah, blah, blah. We know the reasons for and against, etc. But if you're not going to stick with the actual core values of why it's so terrible and make it a cautionary tale, instead of people saying, yes, it's shit because humanity's shit, it's not. Humanity are not evil. It is not our default setting. Okay,
no,
I am getting very angry about that point with people because I'm hearing it from everyone a lot. This is a cautionary tale. So you either keep it a cautionary tale and say, this is what could happen if you believe people who tell you humans are evil intrinsically. Or you can turn around and say, actually, too many people are being negatively affected by this, especially after COVID and everything else. And we'll say, if we're going to bring light into it, we have some good guys too. We actually have the Emperor come out, which has already appeared in Thunder and Lightning with doves flying around and smashed everything in his Psychic Awakening event, okay, which was stuck in the private book, the special edition book. But realistically, I really want to see either they bring it back to being pure grimdark, or they then take the next steps and bring in the good guys. Because at the moment, as I say, from the entire community, I am hearing this horrific belief that humans are intrinsically bad. And I take truck with that, and I always will to my dying day. It is insidious, agree. And that is the most toxic thing in our hobby. The belief that humans are evil is wrong. And it creates a seriously damaging effect on many children who will be reading these books. Okay?
No, absolutely. I agree. I do completely agree. It's not an intrinsic problem with humanity. The reason that I go in the direction of, I think that the galaxy at this stage, you sometimes, for all the goodwill and all the fighting that people do, and there are some scenarios where some things are too far gone to be saved. There are some
absolutely. How things were originally. I totally agree with you. They should keep to that. I think that's what they... I'm trying not to completely just dispute everything you're saying, because I do believe that you are right, that it's not humans are bad, therefore it's all bad. The galaxy was screwed when humanity got there. Yeah.
Because the Eldari fell into hubris and blew everything up. The Necrons fell into hubris and blew everything up. Whether that was, and the warp that reflects on the galaxy and then in turn shapes the galaxy blew up, to use, for pardoning a better phrase. By the time humanity got there, with all its goodwill and intentions, the galaxy was already a hostile, unforgiving place, powered by a twisted, nightmare-fueled dimension that is the warp.
Yeah, I've identified exactly what our difference of perspective is, which is perfect and it's glorious. You believe, as far as I can tell, that basically the warp has more control over the reality than I believe the reality has more control over the warp. And I don't think we're going to square that circle. And I utterly respect your perspective. I have it every other day. I twist on this one every day, honestly, I do.
Yeah,
so I see where you're coming from.
I think it's a case of reality shapes the warp and the warp shapes reality, absolutely. And it's the chicken and the egg problem.
Yeah, it is.
But the fact that the way the fall of the Eldari went ruined the warp irrevocably. The way that the war in heaven went ruined areas of the warp irrevocably.
No, I agree with that.
And no, unless you completely turned the galaxy around, and I do mean like pretty much purge every negativity and start anew, which is probably what Gilliman is trying to do, absolutely, and go for it, Gilliman. You have my support in trying to do that. Unless you can flip the galaxy, they can't undo. It's almost like trying to balance a scale where one of them's got a 10-ton weight on the other end.
Oh, no, I know.
There's only so much that the reality can do now. It's not that reality doesn't influence the warp a lot, but there's only so much it can do when the warp is constantly bombarding it with shit.
Yes, no, I do see exactly what you mean. It's much like in Buffy, they said, no matter how much white you pour back in there, when you put in a spot of black, it's always grey. Yeah? They said about one of the characters. So, I do see what you mean. It's just, I think they are it looks like they're walking a tightrope of, could it be this, could it be that, could it be this, could it be that? And although I like that, I generally love that, I don't like the effects it's having, is what I would say.
Yeah, I think there's certain people probably not taking it the right way. Absolutely. No. I like the idea with where we are, that there is a chance. It is, and people have been saying, and I don't know where I've read it, it might have even been in Dawn of Fire, that what Gilliman is doing was the only option that even had a 1/1,000,000,000% chance of doing anything.
Oh, absolutely.
The Dawnbringer Crusade, no, that's AOS. The Indomitus Crusade is probably, in all likelihood, not going to work. For all the power Gilliman has, for all his skill, for all the work of Call, the Imperium will probably never fix itself to the way it was before the Great Rift or the days of the Horus Heresy and the Great Crusade.
And we don't want it to, because otherwise there's no game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But people are saying, and I think it's even in the lore rather than just people online, is that it's a 1,000,000,000,000 squared to 1 chance that Gilliman's actually going to do it.
Yeah.
But you're saying there's a chance. and so Gilliman has run the theoreticals and is implementing the only practical he can see. The Tau probably don't have the same scope of the whole galaxy being on fire.
Oh, God, no.
But they're aware of the Montieva, they're aware of all these different threats, and they are just trying to push out and do what they can and expand their own space, while they have the chance, while everyone else is on the back foot. They have that hope, they have that positive outlook, and all power to them. The Votann want to learn. They want to pass on information and learn and develop and evolve, and that's great. All power to them. Even the Tyranids, you might not understand the motives of the Tyranids, but they want to survive. They want to thrive, adapt, consume, and conquer territory. Admittedly, they're not just going to leave it as a giant husk, but that's not the point. And they want to survive.
Tiamat says hi.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. Yeah, Tiamat have added a lot of complexity to the Tyranid situation, haven't they?
Tiamat are basically farmers.
Yep.
Fair. So there you go. You've got colonization and the Tyranids wanting to regrow the galaxy in their own image. There is a pathway to a new future. It might not be what we recognise. It might not be as grim, dark and hopeless, depending on whose perspective you're looking at it from. But there is a pathway. Yes, the warp is there, and it is a giant oppressive, to use the phrase, cancer on everything, to use your ink analogy. If it's one drop to make it grey, it's pouring in a gigaton per second.
Absolutely.
And to try and darken the whole thing. But there's a way, there is a chance. It will probably not work. It almost certainly won't work in the long run, because, as you say, then there's no game. Yeah. But there's a chance. There is a chance for hope and a positive outlook, and I'm here for that. I am. But I do feel that it's a doomed hope in the likelihood of percentage. Not it's absolutely going to fail, but in the likelihood of percentages, because of the effect of all these different species and the Drakari who are just in it for themselves, and the Orcs who are just there, and the Necrons who are in it for themselves and trying to just kill everything, plus all the effects of the warp as twisted and malformed as it is, even if, as you say, the Emperor is carving out his own little corner as a god with the Legion of the Damned and the Living Saints. It's 1,000,000,000 to 1. So fight, rage against the dying of the light, even if it's a 0.1% chance. That is the message that you can take away from the setting. Yeah. Not everybody's crap and it's all going to hell. Even if it's going to hell, you still fight. Yeah, you still try. Because if you don't try, what's the point of getting up in the morning?
Exactly. And I couldn't agree with you more on that point. Couldn't agree with you more. Full stop. I mean, from my perspective, I don't think they should ever have brought back Guilliman and all of the, primarchs. They're obviously going to bring them all back. So if you're going to do it, get on with it. Waiting 5 years for an extra 6 years, whatever it's going to be for another loyalist. All it does is put too much emphasis on Guilliman. He had enough before. It's now, for me, tedious. It seems that they just want to keep everyone away to keep Guilliman up. And I'm like, oh, for God's sake, please, just get on with it. Bring someone else back. Realistically, I'd love to see a civil war between them from a gaming perspective, because there is nothing more tedious than going, oh, I'm Dark Angels. Oh, right. So you've... I guess we must have, I'm playing Blood Angels, we must have, a fallen hidden in our ranks or something. You guys attack us. Oh, God. Whereas if they have a huge civil war, even amongst the loyalists, Rogel on one side with a couple and Guilliman on the other side with a couple, it gets absolutely brilliant for me again, because most people have an Imperial, a Space Marine army, and they can fight each other and actually fight again. That would be wonderful.
I mean, it's a bit hard to do it with Rogel Don, considering he's dead.
Yeah.
Lion is probably the best example of a primarch they can realistically bring back and it actually makes sense.
Because Lion is the only Primarch loyalist side confirmed to still be alive.
Okay, and we know Vulcan isn't a perpetual. He's going to come back.
Is he?
Yeah, it was kind of implied in Old Earth that he lost his perpetuality with his conversation with the Emperor, saying like, "Yeah, you've experienced a true death." So,
and he also then did go on to die in the War of the Beast.
And
we've gone back to the War of the Beast.
Yeah,
again.
Exactly. But again, he's going to be back. We know he's going to come back.
How do we know that?
Because dead Primarchs make no money.
Sanguinius says hi.
Yeah, exactly. But then after that, you can turn around and all of them. You either bring them all back or you bring none back.
I'm in the favour of bringing none back.
Exactly. But you can't have just Guilliman around and none of the others, and then have one Chaos Primarch after another appear, and then it's just there's 9 of them versus one Primarch. Oh, that Guilliman show, and that would be a travesty.
Well, it wouldn't be 9 Chaos Primarchs anyway, considering there's only 6 Chaos Primarchs that are still alive.
Yeah, Kurz is dead, Alfaris is dead, and who's the other one who's dead?
Horus.
Yeah.
Horus. Oh, God, how did I forget Horus?
No, yes. Well, I did when I read out the numbers as well. Yes, you are absolutely correct. Of course, it's 6.
I do want to point out that in terms of like the lore and the story, the Demon Primarchs never went away. They were always there in the background doing stuff. They were always like things like Angron, for example, did Armageddon 1. Magnus invaded Fenris every 2 weeks or so. Mortarion had his fight with Caldor Drago, for instance,
Okay, but you know exactly what I mean, because there is a preponderance to separate the lore from the figures, and I get that, but the figures are, the lore justifies the battles of the figures, so you can't really separate them. And again, let's say 15 years in time, okay, you've got all 6 of the Demon Primarchs and just Gilliman. What's going to happen to the Space Marine lines? No one's going to buy them, motherfuckers. But blue. And that will happen eventually. So it would behoove them to bring out the rest. And they're going to. They're going to definitely bring back Corvus. They're definitely going to bring back Yagatai. They're going to bring back all of them. And again, most of them aren't even dead.
I think I would say I'd expect to see Lion back. I'd expect to see Russ back, maybe. Just depends on how literally you take the whole Wolf Time prophecy.
Yeah.
Corax, absolutely. What I'm interested in with the Loyalist Primarchs is not the Horus Heresy 2 Electric Boogaloo, but now half of us are demons and half of us are dead.
No. I'm talking about a situation whereas the Chaos Demon Princes are still out there, the Primarchs, sorry. They're still smashing things down, but there must be a reason for Marine to fight Marine again, because there are too many Marine players and I see too many tepid matches going on.
I think, and to set that up in a lore perspective, I don't want, even like taking the remaining living Loyalists and turning them on each other in a civil war, I don't really think that's as interesting either, because that's just running the Horus Heresy again, but worse because there's less of them. I would be more interested in terms of the friction that it creates. Right, Corvus is back, but he's completely lost it and is a shape-shifting Raven Demon killer.
But then you're you're concentrating on the lore, not on the game.
But
and I see what you mean, because you're an AOS player mainly.
That's what I mean. Use that to set the game up. There's friction. It's not that they've turned on each other, but for example, Corvus is redirecting the Raven Guard's fight in his new style, which is all about whatever.
Yeah.
And that causes friction with the Primaris, who are so used to following the Codex Astartes and his frigates, even those who've diverged and joined chapters like the Black Templars and so on and so forth.
Friction is an open battle.
But then use it in terms of, there's a spark, the battle is over, the 2 commanders come to loggerheads, and before anyone can intervene, even as egged on by the insane Corax, it's a firefight that will last for a couple of hours until somebody can get a word back to Strategic Command to stop it.
I know, but those are just temporary civil wars. I mean, why not just go full balls in on it then?
Because
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we are approaching 2 hours.
Oh, crumbs, yes, and my friend's coming over. I didn't think it would go on this long. I do apologise, I've been talking too much.
No, it's fine. This is why I think a lot of people love having you on the programme, is because you've got some really interesting and strong opinions about a lot of things that would really make a lot of sense. Like, as much as I'm not arguing with you to be a contrarian, I have a viewpoint and I'm putting it across, but you always put across a really valid counter argument too. And I think a lot of people really, really like when the podcast goes in that direction. Yeah, okay, have a laugh, have your quiz show and all that, which is great fun and don't take it away from me ever. But these deep philosophical debates are some of my favourite episodes that stick with me. And I know they will do for viewers too, which is why I think you're such a popular guest. Never mind the fact that you're just a really popular person in the community because of what you do.
I sound good, that's it. And I would say, no matter what, I did explain this before, I come from a family with a lot of brothers, so I will argue my instant point very hard, but then after that, like Gandalf, I will have my little pipe out or my cigarette and I will go, actually, I just got my ass handed to me. Tack was right. It just happens later. So, no, I love these kind of discussions because, again, I learn far more than you do I learn far more from you than you do from me. We'll put it that way. It's just great to chuck it around, and it's such an incredible setting, and you're such incredible guests that I feel that we can have a little bit of a, ooh, but then after that, as you just said, everything turns out really lovely. So thank you very much. And again, I will be thinking about everything you said and deeply considering my position, as I always do. There's no point in having a discussion if you're not going to absorb at least some of what the other person's saying.
And I really look forward to the comments discussing what we've discussed today.
Oh, okay.
And actually, whether they take one side and say, no, Baldermort was completely wrong, or no, Tactica was talking like a complete idiot, Baldermort was completely correct. No. Whatever side it goes onto, I always look forward to reading those comment conversations. Like, I'm fully expecting to be called a contrarian arsehat for some of the things I've said today, and just being blinkered and arguing my point.
No.
But I'm fine with that. I'm not saying that it's true, but that's the way that things are said on the internet half the time these days.
I know.
But I am willing to accept that because it encourages conversation. And that's what sometimes when we talk about the news, we talk about a book, and then we do some questions, we miss out on those deep conversations about the state of play. And that's why people like yourself, people like Oculus, and many others who we've had down the years in the podcast are such great guests to talk to, because you have opinions, you have ideas, and you've got the evidence to back it up. You're not just coming in with an idea. You've got a plan, you've got a theory, and we've got ideas from our experiences too, and we all can discuss them. And sometimes, yes, it gets a bit shouty, but that's absolutely fine, because we're going to log off this and you'll be back on in 30 episodes' time, or we'll all be mates again.
Yeah, well, no, absolutely. But again, it's down to the fact is people forget this is the hobby. We weren't talking about drugs, anyone's death, or politics.
Well, we were. We were talking about Ferrous Malices.
Well, yes, but you know what I mean? We weren't talking about any of our real-life concerns, and we were just having a bit of a laugh. So, yeah, cool. This is as much of the hobby as painting, collecting, or playing, in my mind anyway. And again,
absolutely.
You've all been very, very gracious hosts, and sorry for yabbering on so much.
No, you're quite all right. I'm just as guilty of it too.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was hoping to talk about the Mortarion novel this episode, but it looks like that's out the window.
It would be really good considering the whole Garrow novella that got announced to talk about the Mortarion novel and do all that setup. But yeah, we kind of got carried away there. Sorry, viewers.
Sorry.
And sorry, Remleiz, for completely shutting you out of half that conversation as well.
Yeah, sorry.
You can make it up to me somehow, I suppose. Buy me some ice cream or something. I don't know.
Fair enough.
But there'll be some mini magnums in the post for one day because of the heat wave.
Make it Solera and you got a deal.
Deal.
Okay. So, on that bombshell, before we die from the heat, because next week it's going to be hitting 40 centigrade in London. Fuck me.
Drink lots of water, use lots of sun cream. People in the UK, you're going to need it.
Stay hydrated. This is a threat. Until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
This has been Tactica Imperialis.
I'm Bald Guy.
And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.